Welcome to Hannity. This is a Fox News alert. The grand jury in Ferguson, Missouri has decided not to indict Officer Darren Wilson in the shooting death of Michael Brown. And our reporters are on the ground in Missouri. They're reporting that shots have been fired. We know that tear gas has been dispersed. We know there's been attempts to overturn cars. Rocks and bottles have been thrown and fires have been started. Joining us now with reaction, former NYPD Detective Bo Dito, Fox News contributor Tamara Holder, and Fox News senior correspondent Geraldo Rivera here. The prosecutor laid out in minute detail the process that was used to bring evidence to the grand jury before they made their decision, including eyewitness reports. Some eyewitness reports were dismissed because it was inconsistent with some of the physical evidence or the autopsy evidence, and others were consistent all throughout, including this report that, in fact, Michael Brown tried to reach for the officer's gun, went inside the car where the first two shots were fired. He left and he ran and then turned back towards the police officer and charged him. It seems if you have one eyewitness after another, my sources tell me at least 6 that said he charged towards Officer Wilson. It doesn't seem like you could really expect an indictment. Do you think?
Well, I always thought that they were going to give a lesser charge just to make an appeasement vote there.
Knowing the pressure.
Right. Now, you did learn something else. The FBI worked in conjunction with the officers there from that community, and they worked with a dual investigation, sharing the investigation. There were 6 African Americans that were witnesses to this, which all of a sudden comes to light. The description was put over the air. If you remember the erroneous information we were getting in the beginning, it said that he didn't know who he was. He knew darn well who he was. He fit the description. He had the proceeds from the robbery in his hand, and he reacted to him, and he did his job. And the big thing I saw when I heard was 25 feet. Blood was 25 feet, and then he came back.
Mm-hmm. And we have a situation now that has evolved, Tamara, that the President of the United States and the White House, in their rush to judgment, before any evidence was presented, sent 3 White House representatives to the funeral of a guy that pretty much this grand jury determined reached for an officer's gun and may have had the intent of killing him. What does that say about the White House?
I think it says that the White House is involved in possible civil rights issues. You heard at the beginning of the press conference the prosecutor specifically say, he said that there was an agreement with the Department of Justice where they were sharing information. They were providing all of the information that they received.
Isn't that a rush to judgment,
no.
though? The fact that they would I mean, for example, we've lost 76 officers in the last year. In 2013, some 45 other officers were injured on the job. I don't know of any White House representative that was ever sent to one of those funerals or hospitals.
Sean, 1 in 3 men can expect, African-American men can expect to be found in prison in this country. African-American men are 21 times more likely to be killed at the hands of police. My point is, no, let me finish. That is why we have these issues in America, because there are structural problems in America that we need to fix, and the president can't go to every single funeral.
But what the evidence has shown, Geraldo, you're an attorney, the evidence that was presented, and I believe the grand jury, under tremendous pressure, took all of that evidence in, obviously was very committed. They watched all of the interviews that had been recorded. They looked at all the physical evidence. They looked at the autopsy evidence, and this is what they were able to conclude after hearing all of this.
I have 3 quick points. One, I thought that the ultimate acquittal of the officer the deal was cinched when they released the videotape of the young man inside the convenience store. You saw how menacing he was and how aggressive he was. I thought the officer would be acquitted at trial. I thought that it was a mistake for the Attorney General of the United States to go there, because it seemed as if he were taking sides, and I thought he would distort the process. Because I thought that the political pressure was so profound, I thought that you would have a situation where he would, like Bo, be indicted for involuntary manslaughter. My final point is that the evidence of innocence must have been so overwhelming for them to resist the pressure not to indict for involuntary manslaughter. I think the result ultimately would have been the same, an acquittal at trial. I was surprised by the no bill. I thought there would be an involuntary manslaughter because of the political pressure. I think that the evidence is pretty clear now, and now these creeps in the streets throwing rocks, breaking windows, are spitting on the memory of Michael Brown.
Right. Now we got to take a break, but we have reports, shots fired. Tear gas, you can see it being dispersed. You got fires now in the street, attempts to overturn cars, rocks and bottles being thrown, and literally fires started. Look at that example there where they're trying to overthrow. It looks like a police car to me. I can't see. I don't have my glasses on. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to get right back on the ground in Ferguson and more with our panel right after this break on this busy news night.